schedule in your calendar, in your Outlook, in your Google Calendar, whatever, schedule the time to actually implement what you learned. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set aside at least an hour to actually implement the one or two things that you want to learn from today, or that you want to implement from today. Don't try and do everything I'm going to teach you about today right off the bat. Just do one thing. And if you can get one thing out of this that you implement and you actually utilize in your business, you'll see massive results. All right. Now, if you're not an implementer, understand that you're a statistic in this business. You've got to implement to succeed in real estate. Now, we're not going to be selling anything today. We're just teaching. At the end of the webinar, I'm going to offer you a free one-on-one strategy session with me or one of our coaches so that we can dig deep into your business, figure out what's working for you, what's not working for you, where you would like to be, what you've tried, what you haven't tried, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. We do a 55-minute strategy session. So again, if you're interested in that, you can just jump right now. You can see on the board behind me here, you can see that there's a link, clubwealth.com/strategy session. Again, that's clubwealth.com/strategy session. If you go to that link, you can request a strategy session. One of our team members will give you a call, and they'll set up a live one-on-one phone call between you and either myself or one of our coaches. All right, so that's it. If you want to skip the webinar and just go right to that, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you want to watch all the information, then that's the only pitch at the end is going to be if you want to have a strategy session, jump on board, fill out the form on that page, and we'll do a strategy session for you. So that's it. Nothing's being sold. Here we go. We're going to dive right into it. I'm only going to show you this slide just so that there's some credibility. I know there's a lot of people on the webinar right now that are already clients of ours, coaching clients of Club Wealth's. And I know there's a lot of you on the webinar today that already know a little bit about me and my background. But for those of you that don't, I thought it would be helpful to, just by way of credibility, let you know that I sold real estate for over 20 years. I regularly listed and sold over 100 homes a month. Yes, that's a month, not a year. That's not a typo. Literally had over 750 listings at one point in time. The really cool thing is that we were consistently generating over 6,352 leads per month, not counting internet leads. That's sign calls. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. We were getting a massive amount of sign calls because we tweaked just a couple of things on our signs and our flyers to really help us get way more calls. Yeah, I've been on CNBC, Dave Ramsey, Fox News, all kinds of Glenn Beck, all kinds of cool TV and radio shows. It's been a great ride. I've really enjoyed our career in real estate so far. And right now, we're 100% focused. I don't sell real estate anymore. I focus 100% on coaching a small elite group of real estate agents nationwide, and absolutely love it. I feel like I'm finally doing what I was born to do. So thank you all for giving me that opportunity to do that. All right, so here we go. This is what we're going to learn today. We're going to be talking about marketing. That's in pretty soon here. You're going to see a formula we're going to point out to you, and the LG in the formula is lead generation. This is the simple system that drove that 6,352 live hungry buyers and sellers to call our team each and every month. We're going to talk about automation, and in particular, I'm going to show you how to automate your lead follow-up, how to consistently deliver value, stay relevant with leads, and subconsciously program your database so that they're compelled to send you referrals. You know, we got a ton of referrals in our business. It always cracks me up. A lot of people say, oh, well, my business is 100% referral. And I always say, well, that means you probably don't know how to market. And so, you know, if you have a good balanced business, you should get a ton of business from referral and a ton of business from your marketing. So I'm going to show you how to do both of those today. Lead conversion, that's LC in our formula. We're going to show you the presentation system that literally guaranteed me a listing 93% of the time. That's a very big deal. Profitability, I'm going to talk about how to increase your dollars per hour. We all have the same number of hours in the day. The question is, how many dollars are you making in each hour that you work? And then finally, we're going to be talking about balance and how to build a 7-figure income working 12 days a month. I know that sounds crazy. And I'm not talking about a 7-figure gross income. I'm talking about a 7-figure net income working just 12 days a month. Did I say a week? I meant a month. So understand that you can do that. It's very simple once you understand the formula. It takes time, it takes hard work to build to that point, but once you get there, you really can have systems that run on autopilot that make it very easy for you to work a 12-day month and still net 7 figures. So we're going to be talking about today. All right, so what are the biggest problems in real estate today? Well, number one, 87% of real estate agents fail and quit within 5 years of becoming a real estate agent. That's a scary statistic. We don't want you to become a statistic. And part of the reason why these agents fail is because there's so many shiny objects out there. There's so many magic pills. Everybody's got this magic formula. If you just do this one thing, all of a sudden you're going to make millions of dollars. And the reality is you've got to quit chasing those shiny objects. It's hard today to find a great mentor that will teach you all aspects of real estate. You know, there's coaches out there that focus on prospecting and making phone calls and cold calls and expired calls and those sorts of things. There's coaches that focus on direct marketing or building your referral database. But the real challenge is that there's really nobody, well, except us, I believe, that teach all of it, that really understand the entire picture and understand how those pieces fit together and when you want to implement each of those pieces in your business. And there is kind of a timeline. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. All right. And so when you look at these gurus that have a piece of the puzzle, you have to kind of remember to yourself, look, if you have an idiot and you motivate him, now all you have is a motivated idiot. That's a Jim Rohn quote. It's one of my favorite Jim Rohn quotes, by the way. The reality is motivation's not enough. You've got to have the tools and the systems necessary to take that motivation and focus it in a direction that's going to bring you the results you're looking for. All right. The reality is a lot of real estate agents feel like they just don't have enough time in their day. They don't have enough qualified leads. They don't have enough money. So many agents think, well, gosh, if I just made $100,000 a year, I'd be in great shape. Well, the reality is $100,000 a year isn't that much by the time you take out all your taxes and your expenses. At the end of the day, you don't have a lot left. So $100,000 doesn't go as far as it used to. So understand that making just a little bit of money is not enough. We've got to make a massive amount of money so that at the end of the day, we net what we want to net. All right. We ourselves as agents tend to be our own worst enemy. We've got ADD going on. And by the way, I always tease people, ADD used to be a 3-letter acronym. Today, it's a 7-figure income. All the best real estate agents that I've come in contact with tend to have ADD at some level. The more successful, generally speaking, the more dramatic their ADD is. So, we got to get rid of the ADD stuff. We got to get rid of the distractions, get rid of the excuses, and we just got to implement. All right. Too often we're feeling like we don't have freedom, we don't have a life. Well, guess what? This is what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to show you how to automate systems to get that happening. All right. How many of you are feeling right now like you're making just enough money to stay in the business, but not enough to be excited about it? Let's change that. And you can do it while having balance in your life. You don't have to work 24/7. You don't have to cold call all day long. You don't have to do a lot of these things that people have become accustomed to thinking they have to do. Those are myths. You don't have to do those things to be successful. So let's talk about that. First and foremost, I want to share with you a testimonial from Brian Curtis, who actually now has become one of our coaches. But Brian's story is very, very important. I want you to listen very carefully as Brian shares his story with us. Brian's going to tell us very quickly how he grew his team from 4 buyers agents, from himself to over 4 buyers agents, 1 listing marketing manager, a transaction coordinator, and of course him and his wife. He actually has 6 buyers agents today. And he literally went from earning about $225,000 a year to over $650,000 a year in 1 year. And he did it while going from not taking any time off, literally hadn't had a day off in 3.5 years, started coaching with us, grew his income by that massive leap, and began taking all of his Sundays off, most of Saturdays and most of his evenings off, all while making that massive quantum leap in his income. So let's hear Brian tell his story.
Hello everybody, my name is Brian Curtis with Curtis Realty Group at Keller Williams. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about the last 6 months that I've spent coaching with Michael Hellickson. When I started with Michael, we were just a small team, but since working with him, that's exploded and expanded in ways that I never thought possible. We now have 4 buyers agents, a listing and marketing manager, transaction coordinator, myself, and my wife Lisa. When I look at volume, we've gone in 2013 from doing $6.5 million to in 2015 to doing over $24 million. And in 2016, our goal is to break $50 million in gross commission income. But honestly, the numbers only tell part of the story. Before I met Michael, I worked every single day and really didn't have a life outside of work. Today, we use our business to leverage our lives and build the life that we've always wanted. I can't begin to thank Michael enough, and if I had to look back at the best investment that I've made in the last 10 years, it's been starting to work with Michael as my coach. Thanks, Michael.
So Brian's got a great story, and I really want you guys to think about what he said there. What he's really saying is, look, you don't have to work 24/7. You don't have to work 24/7 in order to make a great living in this business. You can take time off. You can spend time with your family, and I really want you to consider that as I share these 5 points with you today. All right, so real estate is complicated. This is the Club Wealth Real Estate Success Blueprint. Those of you that are already coaching clients know what this is. You've seen it. Hopefully you've examined it and you've gone over it with your coach. But essentially, if you look in that upper left-hand corner there, everybody starts off kind of trying to do everything themselves. You're the Lone Ranger. It's all about you, and you've got to do everything. You're prospecting. You're wearing 35 different hats. You're the administrative team member. You're trying to learn new things. You're making cold calls. You're marketing. You're chasing your tail half the time. A fire comes in, and you got to put that fire out. So you got to leave what you're doing to go put that fire out. You've got the roller coaster income because you start off working really hard to bring leads in. You get those leads in, and now you've got to work really hard to convert those leads. And then once you convert those leads, now you've got to work really hard to get those transactions closed. And when you're doing that, you stop prospecting or you stop lead generating. So guess what happens? Now you make all this money, and then your income drops again because you've had to spend so much time doing the administrative work. And so, as we get through that, then, hopefully at some point you get a coach. Your coach helps you understand the process. You start dialing in systems. You get your foundation set straight. Eventually you hire an assistant. Then you progress. You now hire a couple of buyer's agents. As you progress from there, you develop more and more lead generation systems. You go from chasing business to attracting business. And then the rest is history. Once you start getting into that and you start following this path through real estate and through a successful real estate career, from struggle to legacy, you all of a sudden begin to scale your business while working less at the same time. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on this blueprint today, but I want you to understand that at some point you need to go over this with your coach if you haven't already done so. And I would recommend, for those of you that are coaching clients, look through that. At least, I would go back through that success blueprint at least once a quarter, if not once a month, and just kind of remind yourself, where am I in this blueprint? Where am I on this journey? And where do I need to be going next? And always be having that conversation with your coach. All right, next, we're going to talk about the high percentage of agents that haven't even mastered the basics yet of running a profitable real estate business. If you're not executing the basics at the highest level, how can you expect to learn anything new? Think about this. You've got to get the basics dialed in. All right, one of the basics that I want to talk to you about today is something called MVR. Now, a lot of people refer to this as IVR, so I'm going to use those terms interchangeably. But MVR is mobile voice response. What you see on the screen here is my real estate sign when I sold real estate. And you'll see that there's at the bottom of that sign a free recorded info, 24 hours. Call this 1-800 number and dial this extension. That is a very, very powerful tool. And it works very, very well for generating more calls per listing. Now, this system is the exact system that I used to drive 6,352 buyer leads per month to and I'm talking live hungry buyers. And actually, we had a lot of sellers out of that as well, to our real estate team. So I'm going to show you exactly how this system works. All right. See if I can get my slide to move forward here. All right, so we're talking about this IVR or MVR systems. There's a lot of different versions of this system out there. Most companies, what they'll do is essentially someone calls that 1-800 number, they dial in the extension, and then they press 1 after they've heard that recording. It asks them to press 1 if they'd like to speak to someone. When they do that, it dials that person. It takes about 20 to 30 seconds, and all of a sudden the two people are on the phone together. The agent and the prospective client are on the phone together. Here's the problem. That results in about a 40%, somewhere between 25 and 40% call to conversation ratio, which is great. That's fantastic. But it can be a lot better. So the system I use was literally while the person was listening to that IVR recording. So they dial the extension while they're listening to the recording. The system is calling the agent. When the system calls the agent at that point, it gets the agent on the phone and says, hey, there's somebody listening to the recording on 123 Main Street. Please wait on the line while we get that person on the line with you. So now we've got the person on the line. When they go ahead and all they have to do is say yes. They don't even have to press 1. But once they say yes, the two are instantly connected, and we go from 25 to 40% to now we're at an 82% call to conversation rate. That is a massive difference, and it really does result in bottom line dollars at the end of the year. So it's very, very important. Another really cool thing that it does is it tracks by lead source. So you'll notice that was a 4-digit extension on there. And with that 4-digit extension, the very last digit is what we call the marketing digit. And that marketing digit tells us where that person called from. Was it a sign call? Was it a flyer call on the front of the flyer? Was it a call from the back of the flyer? I can tell you because, it'll tell you Craigslist and all this, but I can tell you that by tracking our numbers that closely on that number of leads, I can tell you I got 60% of my sign calls actually came from the back of the flyer. 60%. That's a lot. Not only that, I can tell you, and we're not going to go into detail on this today, but I can tell you percentage-wise on all my different lead sources where those calls were coming from and how little subtle changes in the way that the information that we put on our flyer, how that changed the number of calls that we would get and how that changed conversion on those calls. Very important stuff. Another thing that this system does that's really awesome is it captures their phone number. So if they call up and they have an unlisted phone number, it doesn't matter. It'll actually capture their phone number, even if they're unlisted, and now you can call them back, even if they don't press 1 or say yes to speak with you. Regardless, if they just call in and hang up immediately, you can now call them back. And believe it or not, those are some of the best leads, and let me tell you why. The harder a lead is, or the more they're playing hard to get, the harder they are, the more difficult they are to get a hold of, the better chances you have of doing business with them if and when you do get a hold of them, because most agents will give up. Most agents won't go that extra mile to contact those folks. Most agents aren't very good at follow-up. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. Make sure you do it. Make sure you follow up. All right, the other cool thing that this will do is it will automatically push those leads through 5 Street into Top Producer, for example, if you're using Top Producer. You guys know I'm a big fan of Top Producer, especially if you're in a Tier 1 if you're a Tier 1 agent. Once you start getting into Tier 2, 3, and 4, we start looking at other systems like Commissions Inc. and some of those other systems. But for now, if you're a Tier 1 agent, you want to push those leads directly from your IVR right into your Top Producer. It's a great way to track those leads. All right, so we can literally increase our leads from our sign-ins by 500% by using this system, especially if we're using it in conjunction with the proper flyers and the proper information on those flyers. All right, so let's talk about those yard signs. I want you to make sure that they're professional looking. They shouldn't be sloppy. They got to reflect your quality brand. It should have a photo of you on it. A full body shot is better than a headshot. Please don't use the glamour shots, the old 80s. Remember those old 80s photos with the backlighting and all that kind of stuff? It's like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. It looks like Flashdance here. All right, so literally make sure you've got an updated photo. Make sure you're using a high quality photo. And wherever possible, use a full body shot on your sign. You need to use bold colors, okay? Instead of having literally white space, make that white space a colored space. On my signs, you noticed it was yellow. I have a lot of it. I have a lot of empty space on the signs. I want a nice, clean look, sharp look to my sign. That has an impact on how many people call me. It also has an impact on your branding so that when people are driving around and they're seeing your signs all over town, they're recognizing your brand. Problem is, 90% of the real estate agents out there, their signs pretty much look the same, right? There's not a lot of difference. There's not a lot of creativity in these signs. And the ones that are a little bit creative with their signs, they put too much stuff on there. They clutter them up. Don't do that. I should be able to read everything on your sign driving by at 35 miles an hour. I should be able to know your name and your phone number and hopefully your website driving by at 35 miles an hour. All right, I want to make sure that the only phone number on that sign is my IVR number. Never, ever, ever have multiple numbers on that sign. This is a very big deal. I want to also make sure, again, that I have as few words as possible. If I can keep the words to 7 to 10 words on my sign, I'm doing pretty good. Also, I want to have a USP. I want to have a USB. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. I want to have a USP or URL at the top of my signs. This is very, very important. So the USP needs to be, for me, it was guaranteed, with my 30-day guaranteed sale program. If I can't sell your home in 30 days or less, guaranteed, I'll buy it. Now, another USP that's working really well right now, for those of you that feel like that's too strong of a guarantee, or maybe you're not comfortable guaranteeing that you'll buy it, you can do 30-day guaranteed sold in 30 days or less, or I'll sell it for free. That's a very big deal. Your name and your logo in most areas are required by law to be on your sign, but I want to keep that logo as small as I possibly can and still remain within the law. Also, I want to have evidence of success. So I'm going to have a tagline on my sign that shows that I'm successful. Mine, at one point, was Northwest's #1 agent. Eventually, I changed my signs to read the nation's #1 real estate agent. Now, you've got to make sure that you actually are whatever you say you are. You got to operate out of integrity. Don't say you're something you're not. So make sure if you're telling people you're the #1 real estate agent in the country, you better be the #1 real estate agent in the country. If you can't say that right now, find something else that works for you, that's honest, legitimate, and that shows evidence of success. All right, again, I want to have those sign writers on there. They're very inexpensive, and I want to have my guarantee on those sign writers if I don't already have them on my actual sign itself. Very important stuff. All right, so moving to the next slide. Here we go. Hang on. There we go. All right, so I want to have on my flyers, I want to have my USP, or my guaranteed sale program, on my flyers as well. I want to have additional listings on the back of my flyer. This is very, very important. Again, remember, I got 60% of all of my calls came from the back of the flyer, not the front of the flyer. And on the back, I had about 30 different listings listed on the back of that flyer. Also, I want to make sure that the people that are driving by, that they can literally grab a flyer from the curb without getting out of their car. This is very important. Also, I want to eliminate the fatal 4. This is something that we talk about all the time. The fatal 4 are bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and price. If I can get rid of those things on my flyers, I'll get way more sign calls, way more calls off that flyer. A lot of you are thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute. If I don't put that on there, people won't call. And people tell me all the time, oh, I don't call if I don't see the price. The statistics say otherwise, and numbers don't lie. The fact of the matter is, people will call if you omit the fatal 4. If you put the fatal 4 on there and you put 1,000,000 photos on there and you do things like virtual tours and all this other stuff, guess what? They don't have a reason to come see the house. You've shown them everything. They don't have a reason to call you to get information. They know it all. You need to give them a reason to call. This is very important, and it will impact dramatically the number of sign calls that you get. So I want to make sure no more than 5 photos. This is very, very important. Never more than 5 photos. And I also want to make sure that the last 10 flyers in that flyer box are printed on red paper. If I print those last 10 flyers on red paper, then when my seller comes back to the house and they happen to drive up to their driveway and they see red, they know it's time to call me to bring out more flyers. Obviously, I'm going to leave them with some additional flyers in the house, but what I want to avoid here is I don't want it to be an emergency when they call me. I want them to be able to call me up, and I've got a couple of days before I got to get out there and bring more flyers out there. So just a little trick that'll help you out there, because again, those flyers are super valuable to you. You are absolutely, if you don't have flyers in flyer boxes on every single one of your listings, you are throwing money away. It is absolutely worth it. All right, Craigslist. Another thing I'll do is I'll use my IVR signs, or my IVR phone number and extension in my Craigslist marketing. This is huge. I've got clients right now, or we've got Club Wealth clients right now, that literally are getting 5 to 15 buyer calls each and every day from Craigslist. Now, that sounds crazy, and some of you are thinking, no, that doesn't work in my market. Well, let me tell you something. I had a client recently, and I'm not going to say who because he's probably watching the webinar right now, but he's from San Diego, and he tested out Craigslist ads in his market. And we had another, and he tried it out and said, oh, no, didn't work for me, and he stopped doing it. Then I had another client in San Diego test out the Craigslist marketing strategy that we employ. Went out, started doing it, did it exactly like we told them to do it. Lo and behold, they got free buyer leads out of it. So the stuff works. You just have to implement it, and you have to do it exactly as we teach you to do it. Don't reinvent the wheel. We've made the mistakes. Learn from our mistakes so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. All right. Again, you want to omit the fatal 4 in your Craigslist ads too. Bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and price. Omit those. Also, never more than 5 photos, not even on Craigslist. Online advertising, all of that stuff. It corrects me. A lot of people, they want to do this, all these different, and there's some cool technology out there. You've got the blown up house, like the Matterport videos and all that kind of stuff. You've got virtual home tours and that sort of thing. Again, you're giving them so much information that they really don't need to call you unless they're like, oh, now I want to go see the house. But a lot of times they're not ready to see the house yet. Remember, with our marketing, the one thing we're trying to accomplish with our marketing is get the call. That's what we need to get right now. Get the phone call. We're not trying to sell the house yet. We're just trying to get voice-to-voice with them. Then our next goal, once we're voice-to-voice, is get face-to-face with them. All right, so we'll talk about that as well. Automation. Now let's talk about how do I automate things, particularly how do I automate my follow-up. I want to consistently deliver value, stay relevant with my leads, and subconsciously program my database so that they are compelled at a subconscious level to send me referrals. And this is very doable. It's not as hard as it sounds. It's actually quite easy. So let's talk about how to do that. So National Association of Realtors states that the number one reason why people don't refer a friend, family member, or coworker to their previous agent is because they can't even remember the agent's name. Over 80% of the sellers out there would work with the same agent again if they could remember their name. It's crazy to me that they can't. It's critical to have a system that automates your communication with prospects and clients before, during, and after the process. All right, so the first thing we have to do to automate this is we've got to build, sort, and qualify our database. What does this look like? Well, I want to add a minimum of 5 people each and every day to my database. Then I want to funnel all of my new leads coming in through 5 Street into like a top producer or into whatever CRM I'm going to use. Maybe I'm using Follow Up Boss or who knows what. There's all kinds of them out there. We're not going to get into that. Maybe it's Wise Agent, but there's a million of them out there. At the end of the day, have a great database. We love Top Producer. It works really well for us. Now, next, I want to sort them. I want to identify who are my buyers, who are my sellers, and when is my next follow-up date. That next follow-up date is the single most important thing you can keep track of with each and every one of these people. Obviously, it's not counting, name, address, email address, phone number. Those are the most important things. But next, you got to have that next follow-up date. By having a next follow-up date, I always know when I need to contact that person again. If I don't put a next follow-up date in there, I risk losing contact with this person altogether. All right, now I want to qualify my database. This is massive. This is the part of the difference between running your business like a business and being simply an entrepreneur. I need to know where I spend my money and where I get return on that money. I need to know which clients I need to spend the most money on. So to qualify my database, I'm going to go through every single person in my database, and I'm going to label those people as either an A+, A, B, C, or D client. An A client has done business with me or sent me a referral. An A+ client is a person that has sent me multiple referrals or done multiple transactions with me or sent me a referral and done a transaction with me or anything above and beyond that. That's an A+ client. A B client is anybody that I think, hey, look, if I taught them how to refer them or how to refer me, and I reminded them on a consistent basis, I'm pretty sure that they would either refer me or do business with me down the road. All right, C clients are everybody else with the pulse. All my online leads, everything else that comes in, those get dumped in as a C client. Then my D clients, these are the knuckleheads, the ding-dongs. These are the people that I don't want to talk to ever again. Ideally, I'd love to delete these people, but I'm afraid to because I know if I delete them, that the chances are that they're going to find a way to sneak back into my database. And as soon as they sneak back into my database, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to have to deal with them again. They're going to waste more of my time. That's not a good thing. So I want to label them as a D to keep them from wasting my time and or my team's time. All right, so once I've qualified them, I need to go through and follow up with them. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to make phone calls. I'm going to write them personal notes. I might even, on my A+, my A clients, I might even drop by their house and bring them some swag, right? I might bring them, some kind of an item of value. I never want to stay at their house more than 10 minutes, so I'll literally leave the car running, stand on their front porch, and literally just give them whatever that item of value is, say hi, and just touch base with them real quick, and then out I go. I'm back in my car. Client events are huge. Oh, I got to do it. Huge. Okay, you know who I'm mimicking there. Check it out. Client events are absolutely awesome. We've got one of our clients, again, another one in San Diego. She did, it was Christy Lundy in San Diego, did a client event recently. It cost her $200 to do this client event. She got five transactions out of one client event that cost her $200. 5 transactions. That's like, for her, it's like $50,000 in commissions on a $200 investment. So here's what, and by the way, out of those 5 people, 3 of them didn't even show up to the client event. How crazy is that? So here's the thing. Your client events don't have to be extravagant. They don't have to cost you a lot of money, but they do need to be consistent. You need to have ideally 4 client events per year. So I want to have 1 per quarter, space them out evenly throughout the year. And that way, I'm always able to contact my clients, and I'm either calling them to invite them to a client event, or I'm calling them to thank them for coming, or calling them to say, gosh, I really missed you at the client event. Hopefully we'll see you at the next one. Here's when it is. But it always gives me a great reason to contact my clients and encourage them to one, keep me top of mind, right, as I'm doing this. But 2, eventually I'm going to get face-to-face with them, and they're going to see that I'm bringing value to them beyond just, hey, send me some business, which is not what you want to do. All right, social media, huge. You need to be social stalking your clients. I know that sounds creepy, but you got to do it. You've got to be on Facebook. I can tell you right now that for Club Wealth, we get a large portion of our clients, our coaching clients, come to us through social media. The vast majority come through referrals from other agents that we're currently coaching. And again, the next biggest percentage is social media. You need to be on social media with your clients as well. So I would go out of my way for all of my A and A+, and of course my B clients. I'm going to make darn sure that I'm connected with them at the very least on Facebook, and then other social media outlets as well. All right, very important stuff. Make sure that you're doing this every single day consistently. Put a system to it. If it's worth doing, it's worth putting a system to it and doing it on a regular basis. All right, so here's my follow-up schedule. On my A+ clients, I'm going to call them once a month. Ideally, I'm going to take them to lunch once a quarter, or at a bare minimum, once every 6 months. My A clients, I'm going to call them once a quarter. My B clients, I'm going to call once every 6 months. My C clients, I'm going to call them once a year if time allows. I may or may not get to them. If I've got good lead flow coming in and I'm busy with my current leads, my current business, all that stuff, I don't even really need to call them unless it's an active lead and I've got a next follow-up date set up with them, in which case, of course, I'm going to follow up with them by phone as well. And then, of course, I want to drop by a lot of these clients. And when I do my drop buys or pop buys or stop by with swag, whatever you want to call it, as I'm doing this, I'm going to do it in the same frequency as the schedule that I just rattled off for you. So very important. All right, good stuff. Next, I want to make sure, here we go, that I'm converting. So conversion is a very, very big deal. It doesn't do me any good to have 1 million leads if I'm not converting those leads to appointments, and if I'm not converting those appointments to contracts. So I'm going to talk to you for a moment about the system that guaranteed me a listing 93% of the time on cold leads, not even referred leads. On cold leads, I was getting the listing 93% of the time. So how was I doing that? Well, I was using what we call the 37-minute guaranteed listing presentation, or the 44-point listing appointment checklist, which some of you have seen on our blog. If you haven't seen that on our blog, you can actually go to our blog and download that. And there's even a 45-minute video of me explaining exactly how to do the listing appointment. So the first thing I got to do when I've got a lead, I got to call them. This is massive. So many people don't follow up with their leads. The fortune really is in the follow-up. So then, I got to remember, and there it is, the 3 most important things about converting leads to appointments is follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. So literally, when I was listing and selling over 100 homes a month, I was actually listing on retail side, not counting REO, I was listing about 50 to 75 homes a month. I was doing that by calling on follow-up calls, not lead gen calls, straight up follow-up calls. I was doing between 115 and 125 follow-up calls each and every day. That's a lot of calls, but I was doing it in between appointments from my car. So I was very efficient with my time. I didn't listen to the radio and all that other stuff. I was very focused when I was in the car. And it led me to massive results. All right, I want to begin with the end in mind when I'm making my follow-up calls. Well, what does that mean? I got to know my goal. My goal is not to educate them at this point. It's not to get their commitment to do business with me. It's not to pre-qualify them. My goal is to set the appointment. That's it. That's all I care about. And as soon as I get that appointment set, I'm going to hang up the phone. Very important. All right, now do this. Stop selling yourself at the appointment. Nobody wants to hear you walk in and tell people how great you are. They don't care. All they care about is the radio station that's playing in their head, which is WIIFM. What's in it for me? That's all they care about. It's no offense. Don't be offended by this. They don't care about you. They care about what's in it for them. So I'm always an assumptive close kind of guy. So I'm going to act as if through the entire appointment that they're going to list with me. That's just my natural persona. Of course you're going to list with me. Why wouldn't you list with me? I also want to be prepared to list the house right then and there, no matter what. I got to dress for success. You'll notice I wear a tie. That's how I roll. I always wear a tie. Why? Because you know what? I'm applying for a job here. If you were going on a Fortune 500 interview and or an interview for a job with a Fortune 500 company, would you put a tie on, guys? Ladies, would you dress for success? I mean, would you dress appropriately for the occasion? And remember, ladies, let's remember what we are and are not selling. I mean, let's call it what it is. So dress appropriately, dress professionally, and dress for success. All right. I want to have my checklist with me. I want to have my camera, my lockbox, my 4 blue ink pens. That's important. With 4 blue ink pens, by the way, I can save 8 minutes on every listing appointment. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a very big deal. Why? Because for every, let's figure this out, for every 10 appointments I go on, that's 80 minutes I save, or an hour and 20 minutes I get back in my life. I can do that by simply carrying 4 blue ink pens with me on every appointment. I can use that time to prospect for more appointments, or to follow up with more clients, or simply spend it with my family. But I get that time back. That's a lot of time. So I'm always looking for ways to be more efficient in my listing appointments. I want to make sure I've got my business cards, my magnets for the fridge, my market analysis, my listing packets, and of course my 44-point listing presentation checklist. And this is it. You're seeing it on your screen now. I'm going to customize my presentation to my prospect. So one of the things I do is, where you see the Club Wealth logo there in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, that spot there is actually going to be blank on your checklist. You can go to our website and you can download this. It's on the Club Wealth website under the blog, and it's a free download. Doesn't cost you anything. And when you print this out, it'll be blank in that upper left-hand corner. If you're using Top Producer, for example, if you print their contract record right from Top Producer, it'll have their name, address, phone number, email address, all their contact information in that upper left-hand corner. So you literally just feed the checklist into your printer, print their contact info right on it, and now you're ready to go on your appointment. The other thing it allows me to do is I can verify their contact info when I'm on that appointment. That's important because I want to make sure that when offers come in, I'm able to get a hold of them in a multitude of different ways. Also, during my appointment, I'm using techniques that are familiar. Some of you may be familiar with NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I'll give you an example. When I'm doing an assumptive close, I might say something like, one of 3 things is going to happen today. You're either going to choose to list your home with me, or you're going to choose not to list your home with me. Now watch, are you guys watching the video? Or I might choose not to let you list your home with me. Any one of those is fine. Now what am I doing? I'm nodding my head as I'm saying these things. So hopefully you guys are seeing this on the video. But you need to be nodding your head when you want them to say yes, and shake your head when you want them to say no. It works. And by the way, this is just one of a million different NLP techniques that you can use in your appointments that really do have a massive result at the end of the day. It will dramatically increase your close ratios on your listing appointments. Try it out. Recently, one of our Club Wealth clients, Sunit, went out and he watched the videos that we put out on how to do the listing appointment. Though he watched them one night, went on 2 listing appointments the next day, cold listing appointments, got both of the listing appointments. He employed the techniques that he learned on the videos, and it worked. And let me tell you, it'll work for you too. So give it a shot. All right. Now, next, I want to make sure that I'm profitable. I need to increase my dollars per hour. It's great to make money selling real estate, but I know a lot of agents that make millions of dollars and have no time. That's not okay. That's not what you want. You've got to make sure, and not only that, I know a lot that make, they gross, $2, $3, $4 million a year, and oh my gosh, they don't have any money in the bank. Well, why is that? Because you're not running your business like a business. Let me ask yourself this. Do I have a profit and loss? You need to have a profit and loss. If you're in tier 1 and you don't have anybody working for you yet, so you don't have an assistant or any buyer's agents or anything like that, there's a program that QuickBooks has a self-employed version that you might want to take a look at. We'll be posting that on the Club Wealth Real Estate Agent Mastermind on Facebook so that you can get a link to that. But you've got to keep track of your numbers. You've got to run profitably. This is very, very important. All right, so Peter Drucker said, efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Think about that. There's a difference. So do you know what your dollars per hour is? Ask yourself that. How much do you make per hour? Am I making $500 an hour, or am I making $50 per hour? Well, there's a big difference. Some of you might be thinking to yourselves, man, I'm only making about $5 an hour. Well, all right, then we need to be taking a look at why is that? It's not okay to work 1,000,000 hours and make $1 million and not take home anything at the end of the day. The only thing your spouse and your banker care about is your net income, not your gross. Here's a scary number for you. Most agents that tell me that they're making $250,000 a year or more, most of them, after we go through their P&L and we really understand their expenses and their net profitability, we find that they're literally netting less than 18% on their gross income. That's not good. They think they're making all kinds of money because, oh, well, I made $250,000 last year. Well, no, you didn't. Let's do the math. No, it looks like you made about $40,000 or $50,000 last year. You'd have made more money going and getting a corporate job. Now, I'm not suggesting you do that. What I'm suggesting is run your business well, understand your P&L so that you're running profitably. All right, so let's talk about time. That's the next piece of this. I need to master my time. Time is not money, by the way. People think it is, but it's not money. It's way more than that. It's something that we trade money for. And when we're trading time for dollars, guess what happens? We are limited on our income. We want to get to the point where we're trading ideas for dollars. That's much more important than trading time for dollars. Here's the thing. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can't get time back. It's gone forever. Here's some myths about money. A lot of people think that money is the root of all evil, but the reality is that's not true. They think it's dirty. They think it's finite. The reality is it's a way to store effort. It's a means of measurement, and it's abundantly available. And guess what, folks? It's absolutely necessary in today's world. You got to have money, right? You got to be able to pay your bills. You got to be able to eat. You got to be able to get to work. You got to be able to put clothes on. All this stuff costs money. The roof over your head, everything. Now, if you want more money, you've got to learn to manage your time wisely. This is the single biggest challenge real estate agents face today. I believe that real estate agents that master their time and develop what we call the perfect daily schedule, which is different for everybody. Perfect for you is going to be different than perfect for the next agent. But I really truly believe that the agents that master their time management and their perfect daily schedule and develop habits that force them to succeed, those are the agents that succeed at the highest level. All right, so why should I manage my time? Well, one, because like I said, ADD, remember that 3-letter acronym that's now a 7-figure income? If I want to turn it into a 7-figure income, I got to manage my time. Also, I want to make sure the very first thing I do is I set aside time for my family. Too often as real estate agents, we schedule all of our business stuff, and then whatever time is left, that's what our family gets. And the reality is there's never any time left. This business will chew through relationships if you let it. It will chew through your marriage. It will chew through your relationship with your kids. It destroys families if you let it. Or it can be the very best business you've ever been in, and it can be the very best business for your family because it allows you the freedom that you believed you were going to have when you got into this business. It allows you the freedom to do the things that you love and enjoy in your life. The only way that's going to happen is if you plan those things in your schedule first. Don't wait until you have extra time left. Plan those things now. Plan your fun activities now. You want to make sure that you're being more efficient while you're working. Limit the amount of time you spend on each activity. You want to be able to make more money? This is how you do it. Whatever your reason is for managing your time, find out what your why is. Once you learn your why and you make that the foremost thing in your mind, managing your time becomes very easy and natural for you. So to figure out what that is and define it now. All right, now here's the rules. If you want to master your time, you got to follow the rules. Number one, this one's going to freak a lot of you out. Do not check your email, voicemail, text messages, or social media before noon, ever. From 8 o'clock until noon, you should be game on, focused. All of those other distractions need to go away. Turn the notifications off on your phone. Don't take any inbound calls or visitors during your prospecting or focus time. If you need to, put a stop sign up in your office. We actually give these to Club Wealth members so that they literally have it so they can post it right there in their office, a sign that says, stop, I'm in my focus time. I'll be available after noon. Turn all the notifications off on both your PC and your phone. Make sure that you create and live by that perfect daily schedule that we talk about. And again, do things like carrying those 4 blue ink pens. It matters. It will make a difference for you. All right, how about my desk and my email? Here's some rules that'll help you with this. First of all, deal with it, delegate it, dump it or delete it, don't reminisce. Also, divide your inbox files, declutter daily, and leave your desk and your inbox clean at the end of every day. And here's a tip that you'll love. Lose the sticky notes and start using something called Trello, Trello. It's free. It's a fantastic tool. It's Trello.com. It's a really good organizational tool that, again, doesn't cost you anything. We use it as a coaching platform. And so if you haven't checked it out already, go check it out. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it today, but you'll love it. It's a great tool. All right. So what does a perfect daily schedule look like? This is not a schedule that you have to do exactly like this. This is just one example of what a perfect daily schedule could look like. Essentially, you want to put your prospecting and your client acquisition activities between 8 o'clock and noon. Of course, you've got your morning time. Maybe you're going to go out, you're going to work out maybe, or maybe, it's just getting up, getting showered, ready for the day. Whatever you're going to do in the early morning, that's your call, but do it religiously. The most important thing you can do is get to bed on time the night before so that you can get up the next morning and do the things that you need to do. So make sure if you want to get up on time, you got to get to bed on time. Now, I want you to take whatever your perfect daily schedule is going to look like, whether it looks like this or something a little bit different. Whatever it's going to look like, put it in your Outlook or your Google Calendar or your iCal or whatever electronic calendar you use. Put these things in there as recurring activities so that literally throughout the day you've got alarms going off telling you, okay, it's time to stop doing this and start doing that. You need to have those reminders throughout the day, and you need to listen to those reminders and not hit ignore. Actually follow the path that you have set for yourself. If you'll do this, if you'll stay loyal to your schedule, guess what? You will make more money than you ever dreamed. And you'll do it in far less time. You won't be working 24/7 like so many other agents. All right, good stuff. All right, we need to have balance in our lives. Balance is wicked important. I literally worked 12 days a month and made a 7-figure income. And you can too. I know you can. If that's what you want, some of you are saying, well, Michael, that's not my dollar. My goal is not to make that much money. Okay, that's okay. Whatever it is that you want, make sure that you're following your perfect daily schedule to get there. All right, point 5, balance. If you don't have an assistant, you are one. This is plain and simple. It's a fact. If you don't have an assistant, you're doing assistant type work that an assistant should be doing. So you cannot achieve significance alone. So why should I consider building a team? Well, it's the only way to create balance in your life and double your income at the same time. So most of you, if you don't have an assistant, now in order for me to double my income, I got to work twice as hard. Well, I've only got so many hours in the day, and I don't want you to burn out. Literally last night, I had a client end up in the hospital. Why? Because they're overworking themselves. They're not taking the time off that they need to be taking off. We've talked about this with them over and over again. Fantastic human being. You've got to take the kind of time off that you need to take off so you can unstring that bow, sharpen that saw, however you want to look at it. You've got to get sharp, and you've got to make sure that you relax so that when you're at work, you're on your game. All right, creating predictable income is only achieved when you have a team. If you don't have a team, remember we talked about that roller coaster? Well, we want to avoid that roller coaster income. We also want to dramatically improve our customer service. Having a team allows us to do this. That way, when you're in a listing appointment, you can focus in the moment 100% on that person that you're in that appointment with, or a buyer appointment, or whatever type of appointment you end up being in. And if a lead comes in while you're on that appointment or a client calls in, guess what? You have someone else on your team now that can reach out to that person, handle what it is they need handled right away, and they and the client that you're with both get better customer service because of it. All right, it allows you to leverage, right? You want to leverage other people's time to help you earn a better living. And what's interesting is they earn a better living as well. 1 and 1 in this scenario really does equal 11. Think about that. Leverage is massive. Your dollars per hour, you can increase your dollars per hour. We talked about that. And then you can also start working on the business instead of working in the business. This is a transition that usually happens sometime when you're in tier 2, sometime during that period of time when you're in tier 2, you start to get to the point where you can work on the business a lot more than working in the business. And that's when you see massive growth happen in your business. All right. You can also even out your cash flow. We talked about that. Very important stuff. All right. So, hey, Michael, what if I don't want to build a team? I get this a lot. A lot of people ask me this question. Well, here's the thing. It's all right. Just be prepared to be stuck with what you have. If you're okay with that, that's okay. If you want to just be a $50,000 or $70,000 a year earner and you just want it to be you and you're okay working the number of hours that you're working, that's okay. You don't have to do the other. Just understand that if I want to get to the point where I'm making a massive income working when I want to work and not when I have to work, then I'm going to need to build a team. All right. Brace yourself also, if you're not going to build a team, with the possibility that you're going to be burned out, broke, or both. It's very possible. And the other thing you can do is you can join someone else's team. Now, a lot of you think that that means it's like a job. Well, I don't want you to feel that way, because I'll tell you that agents on teams, I'll give you an example. The buyer's agents on our team literally made between $150,000 and $250,000 a year. So is it okay to be on a team? Absolutely. You need to change your mindset. Honestly, if you're not thinking about building a team or being on a team, you need to consider it, because the reality is everything's going to teams right now. It's getting harder and harder and harder to be the Lone Ranger agent, because teams are sucking up all the leads, they're sucking up all the business, they're gaining all the market share, and they're not leaving a lot left for the little guys. So you really need to consider either being on a team or creating a team. Now, the Lone Ranger, this is the agent that, doesn't have a team, doesn't have an assistant or anything. This is where virtually everybody starts. And it's great for those who are content to stay small or they want to be in real estate part-time. That's fine. Maybe you're independently wealthy. I don't know. But the reality is every Lone Ranger has to have a Tonto at some point, or you're married to your business. So who's your Tonto? Who's that going to be? Your Tonto is your first assistant. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to have your assistant do all kinds of stuff, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but think about this. Data entry, Craigslist posting, bookkeeping, transaction coordination, research, listing input, answering phones, all of these different things, holding you accountable, helping you run your life. Essentially, they're managing you instead of you managing them. That's what it looks like to have a great assistant on your team. So how much do I pay this person? Well, I'll tell you, it's essentially going to work out to $22,000 to $50,000 a year in most markets. But here's the thing. A salary provides a guaranteed compensation, and the assistants generally prefer that over straight commission. Now, it doesn't provide for a direct results-based compensation model, but some people go to a salary plus a bonus with their assistants. And it sounds better than a straight salary to us as agents. We always think, well, if I go salary plus bonus, they're going to be more motivated. But the reality is that employees usually want their base to support their lifestyle, and they're not nearly as motivated by a bonus structure as we think they're going to be. We assume that it's going to be a high motivator for them, but the reality is they think differently than agents think. That's why they're on the administrative team. That's why they're not out being an agent on their own. Agents like a merits-based compensation model. In other words, agents love getting paid what they're worth based on how hard they work. Administrative team members don't feel the same way about that. So a salary plus a bonus model is usually not the right way to go. Now, as soon as I say this, somebody's going to disagree with me. And again, it's fine. If you want to do it that way, go for it. I'm just telling you what's worked for us and what's worked with most of our coaching clients. All right, so how does my team grow next? Well, I'm going to hire buyer's agents. After I've got that first administrative assistant, I'm going to hire buyer's agents. I'm going to hire my second administrative assistant. Then I'm going to hire ISAs or showing assistants, one of the two. ISAs are inside sales agents. Then I'm going to probably work on hiring a listing agent, and eventually I'm going to have an office manager. So what's the pay for a buyer's agent versus a showing agent? Well, a buyer's agent, it's usually, there's two common models. Usually 7% comes off the top on both. One is a tiered model. That tiered model, for me, for example, on our team, we did 40% on the first two transactions per month. 45% on transactions 3 and 4, 50% on transactions number 5 and up. Then at the beginning of next month, it goes back to 40% to the agent. All right, and the company took the rest. The team took the rest. Then a lot of agents now, or teams, are using a straight line model where they're doing somewhere between 45 and 50%. I've even seen teams paying as much as 75% to buyer's agents, which, by the way, unless you're in a high-end part of California or some other part of the country where there's really high-end commissions, that's really not a sustainable business model. Generally speaking, with the buyer's agent, all expenses are paid by the company. Like the cards, marketing, signs, CRM, all that kind of stuff. It excludes their car, their phone, and their licensing fees. All right. Now, what about a showing agent? Showing agents are different than a buyer's agent. Showing agents are strictly going to go show houses. They're usually paid hourly plus gas. What we're seeing a lot of times is maybe a bonus structure. So if they show a house, someone and that person actually ends up buying it, then they'll get a bonus on that. But the hourly range is usually $12 to $18 an hour. What's very common, actually, is $50 for the first 2 hours. So let's say they get a call, they got to go show somebody a house. They get $50 for showing up. And that covers the first 2 hours. And then a lot of people are doing $25 an hour thereafter with no bonus structure. And so there's lots of ways to structure this, but understand that they're paid very differently than a buyer's agent. All right, so here's some growing pains. You know, we've been through growing pains, and you're likely to go through some growing pains too. You need to avoid growing too fast. Now, for us, that looked like when we went from 250 transactions a year to over 500 transactions a year, and then and the next big leap for us was actually 450 to 1,000. When we went through those big leaps in short periods of time, like 8 to 10 months in each one of those big jumps, those were challenging times for us. I'm not going to lie. Our customer service was terrible during those periods of time. People hated us in our marketplace. And when I say people, I'm talking about the other agents in the marketplace hated us. And they had good reason to hate us because our customer service was terrible. Don't let this happen to you. How do I avoid doing this? Well, one, I want to outsource early and often. I want to begin with quantity over quality, but I want to move as quickly as I can towards quality while maintaining profitability. This is important. I'm going to put the right people in place in the right jobs. So it's not enough just to have the right person. I got to make sure they've got the right job, because I can have the right person, and if they don't love that job or they're not uniquely suited to it, I'm going to lose that person. Or I can have the right position and I can have the wrong person in it, and that's obviously not good either. Retention is the key here. All right, so here's the thing. We have just scratched the surface on what it takes to be successful in this business. I know there's a lot more we need to cover. We don't have time to cover it all today. So what's next? Well, here's the thing. As you know, I'm on an absolute mission to help agents like you crack the code of having a successful real estate business. So for a limited time, I'm opening up my calendar so that we can meet and discuss your best course of action to world domination. Now, maybe you don't want to dominate the world. Maybe you just want to be where you're at and have a little bit more time available to you. Or maybe you do want to dominate the world. Well, you've taken the time to spend a little bit of time with us today, so we're going to take the time to help you reach your goals and get there faster with less effort, so you can feel that freedom that you longed for when you first got into this business. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to offer you that strategy session. You can see on the board behind me, clubwealth.com/strategy session. When you go to that website, there's a form that you're going to fill out. On that, we're not selling you anything. The strategy sessions are not a pitch for coaching or anything like that. We're literally going to review the low and no-cost marketing strategies that you can use. And we're going to design a blueprint for your success over the next 12 months. We'll break down your current business. We'll identify areas that you can improve. We're going to get an extremely clear picture of where you're at right now, where you want to be, and then we're going to give you your customized, personalized blueprint for exactly how to accomplish that. We're also going to take the necessary time to discuss any challenges that you might be facing right now, and specifically how you can overcome them. I want to give you a real quick example of someone that did a strategy session with us and later became a coaching client, and his experience with us. So just watch this quick video.
Hey everybody, this is Derek. I am a student of Michael Hellickson, and he has been an absolute godsend. I'm actually outside of Starbucks right now, so you have to ignore the noise a little bit here, but just want to tell you a little bit about my experience. From the moment I started working with him, I could just tell he was the real deal. And the first month of working with him, I think I I'm trying to remember now. It was 6 listings that I got the first month of working with him, and it's really just been, a tremendous experience ever since. He has, when I first talked to him, I'm really on the lowest plan at $500, and I thought, wow, this is a lot to pay for coaching, but he has absolutely outperformed that amount of money, and it's literally changing my life, and it's awesome to see. It's really exciting, and I can't believe that, it's happening, just to watch, what has actually transpired. If you're on the fence or thinking about using him, I would absolutely do it. If you're thinking about quitting, I would say just keep pushing forward. It's a lot of hard work. Michael will definitely push you. He definitely knows how to approach things in a way that, is very direct, but it's not going to offend you, and he keeps you on point. He knows what he's talking about. I just love him as a coach. I'm just so thankful that I ran into him. Thanks.
Derek is awesome. I absolutely love him to death. Super guy. So he's in Chicago. In fact, I just got to see him here recently when I was in Chicago doing some events. So anyway, do this. Go to clubwealth.com/strategy session. Fill out the 4-question survey. That'll give us a head start on your call. Then you're going to get an email with confirmation that you're all good to go. Somebody from my team is going to reach out to you. They're going to call you up. They're going to set up an appointment for us to meet. We'll do a 55-minute call, so make sure you're prepared for a full 55-minute call, and be prepared to go in depth. We're going to want to know about your numbers. How much did you make last year? How many transactions? Where did those transactions come from? Were they mostly listings, buyers? What lead sources did they come from? All that kind of stuff. We're going to go deep on your business, so try and be as prepared as you possibly can for that appointment. And then we'll be able to go deep, and we'll be able to help you take your career to the next level. So that's it. It's clubwealth.com/strategy session. So I appreciate you guys taking the time. So here's what I'm going to do. Some of you have questions. If you have questions, I want you to raise your hand. And you can also ask us in the questions box on your screen. You can type in questions, but if you'd like me to unmute your microphone and you can ask me live, you can literally just raise your hand right now, and I will answer any questions that you have. And I only have a little bit of time here before I've got to run to my next appointment, because I've got a strategy session right after this webinar. And so if you would just raise your hand with any questions you have or type them in, then we'll start going through them. So let's talk first of all. Somebody was asking if this is being recorded, and I believe it was being recorded, and I hope it was being recorded, but we may have had some technical challenges in the beginning, so that recording may or may not have worked out real great. So hopefully it will. Let's see here. I don't know that we're going to post a replay. We'll see. We might post a replay, and so thank you for that, Joel. And if we can, then you'll find it on the Club Wealth Real Estate Agent Mastermind group on Facebook. If you guys don't belong to that already, you really should join that. It's a great way to get free information. Lots of great agents in there, high producers sharing lots of information. And that was from Rachel, by the way. Let's see here. Sandy, how are you, Sandy? Sandy, you gotta unmute your microphone. You gotta ask your question live, man. When I've got wonderful Club Wealth clients on webinars like this, I love it when I can talk to you directly. So where's Sandy at? Let's open up your microphone. Do you have one with you? Sandy, for some reason, I'm not able to unmute mic. Well, let's see here. Maybe that'll work. Sandy, can you hear me?
Good morning.
Hey, there you are. How are you, Sandy?
Good. How are you guys?
Hey, fantastic. Hey, do me a favor. Tell everybody who you are, where you're at, and all that good stuff.
Well, this is Sandy Stice. I work with David, my husband, as a team, husband and wife team. We have one buyer's agent from Southern California. We actually just started coaching with you guys, 2 weeks ago? And we're coaching with Brian Curtis. It's been awesome, and we have a lot of information, a lot of things to implement, so we're excited, and this webinar was great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. Very cool. So do you have any questions for me that I can help you with today?
Like I said, I was on the way to school, dropping the kid off at daycare, and I was listening, so I couldn't see a lot of the slideshow that you were having information on. So I was wondering if there's going to be a replay, but you answered that, and another place that I can go and get those information.
Well, I think we're assuming, I'm hoping, and again, I never know if the recordings, sometimes the recordings work out really well, sometimes they don't, sometimes we, we're human, sometimes we drop the ball on the technical stuff, but we're going to try and get that on the Club Wealth Facebook group, get a link to it there so that you guys can watch that. We'll probably, assuming the recording work, we'll probably put that on the Club Wealth website as well. So I'll let you know. And if it didn't work, I'll make this commitment to you. If it didn't work sometime in the next 30 days, I will re-record this or do another live version and record that, and I'll make sure we get something up. I definitely want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to go back and review the information. So
awesome. Thank you.
You bet. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this. So say hi to David for me.
Will do.
Right on. Okay. So I see Blazon. Where are you at, man? There he is. Blazon, I got to unmute your microphone, brother. How are you? Blazon, can you hear us? Blazon doesn't have a microphone live. I've got you unmuted on my end, but apparently your microphone's not working on your end. Well, that's too bad. Blazon, I love hearing from you. So Blazon typed in a question. He said, yeah, I see that your mic's not working. Bummer, brother. Next time, I'd love to chat voice-to-voice with you over these. So you were asking, what's the one thing an agent can do to get 2 or 3 listings in the next 30 days with a low budget? All right. So that's a great question. There's a ton of things you can do. Now, the very first thing that I would do is I would contact everybody in my sphere of influence. The easiest way to get business, whether it's buyer or seller business, is to literally reach out to everybody in your sphere of influence. But before you do, have a client event scheduled. If you've got a client event scheduled, now you can reach out and you call those folks. You're going to have a warm conversation. They're going to be happy to hear from you. And it's not going to be this sales pitch all the time, right? The worst thing you can possibly do, and I can't believe this happens. There's a trainer out there that tells people, at the end of every conversation with a past client or sphere of influence, at the end of every conversation, you need to say, by the way, who do you know that's thinking of buying or selling a home? Listen, if you said that every single time you're talking to people that you are going to wear them out. Don't do that. That being said, you'll know when it's appropriate to do it and when it's not. But the easiest way to open up those opportunities and make it appropriate is to ensure that when you do call them, that you're always bringing value to them. And it's not self-serving, right? That it's something that's truly valuable for them. So that's the first thing I would do. That's an easy way to get more business right away. Another thing you can do, and people think I'm crazy when I say this, but it's actually, believe it or not, can be a very good seller lead source as well. Open houses. So we've got a client in Temecula, California, David Serpa. He's I think he's number 2 right now. He's in his 2nd year in selling real estate, number 2 agent in Riverside County, and he did $650,000 in commissions last year. And again, that was his 2nd year selling real estate. Well, guess what? How did he do that? Most of that was open houses. Did a great job on open houses. And he has a lot of listings today. And a lot of those came from open houses. It doesn't cost you really anything. I mean, it might cost you $100 per open house. It's cheap. Open houses are super cheap, super effective. So I would say those are probably the 2 fastest, easiest ways to get business rolling in. In particular, with seller business, you will get seller business, believe it or not, out of both of those methods. So if you have a little bit of money, there's some lead sources you can use. One of the ones that I would recommend, and I know we've got a lot of clients on the call right now, one of the ones that I would recommend it's not super expensive. It costs a little bit of money, but we're having like Derek Jackson. You saw his testimonial a minute ago. Derek, he's got 28 listings right now. Yeah, 28 listings. He's killing it. And he's getting a lot of those listings out of leadslikecandy.com. LEADSLIKE Candy, CANDY.com. Now, that being said, it's not enough to just go out and buy that lead source. You got to know how to convert those leads. So those of you that are coaching, make sure you talk and role play with your coach exactly how to follow up with those leads so that you convert them into clients. We have a card in Trello for exactly how to do that. So ask your coach for the Trello card. We'll get that over to you. But they are absolutely fantastic leads. I literally, in that one lead source alone, Blazon, I literally listed 30 homes in 1 month out of just that one lead source. Now, my standard month, my typical month with that lead source was around 8 listings out of that one lead source, which is still awesome, right? I mean, that's fantastic. Now, keep in mind, I was buying a 5-county area from them, so I was spending a lot of money on their leads, but the ROI was fantastic. In fact, most of our clients are getting anywhere from on the very low end 8 to on the high end a 25 ROI on that particular lead source. And I've got clients in all parts of the country using it and getting great results. In fact, every single one of the clients that you've heard that you saw today in the webinar, every single one of them is using that lead source. All right, so there you go. Good stuff. All right, I'm going back to more questions here. Rachel, can I unmute your microphone? I'd really love to hear from you voice to voice. Rachel, I'm unmuting your microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
There you are. Rachel, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Hey, do me a favor. Tell everybody who you are and where you're from.
Well, I'm originally from Brazil. I live in the United States from the past 12 months. 12 years, I mean. And I am brand new to the business. I started to work in January. I sold 2 homes so far, and I'm looking to have new listings. So your webinar, it was fantastic. I just posted that actually on Facebook.
Oh, thank you. That's really cool of you. Hey, tag me in the post. If you get a chance, tag me.
I did.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you so much. That's awesome of you. In fact, did you post that in LCA or where'd you post that? Just generally on?
Oh, well, I post actually on the group, but I will do it on my personal page as well.
Oh, you're the best. That's awesome. Yeah, if you get a chance, post it in LCA. So, do you know, you're in LCA as well, right?
On the Facebook group?
And are you in Lab Coats?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so Tristan's one of our clients. The guy that runs Lab Coats, his name's Tristan. He's one of our clients. Great guy. Awesome guy.
Yeah, I love that. That group is excellent. It's actually who brought me to you.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome. You know, there's 2 groups you really need to belong to. No matter what, you got to belong to 2 groups on Facebook: Club Wealth and Lab Coats. Those are the 2 groups. You got to belong to those. You got to participate in the discussion, be active, and you'll learn. So one of the things. So you were asking a question about your sphere of influence and bringing value. Could you go ahead and articulate that question for us?
Yeah, like you mentioned right now to somebody that just asked to bring value. So, we are not wearing them out. But it, as a newbie, feels a little weird for me to just start talking the real estate talk without pushing me selling myself. Yeah. You understand? So what kind of value can I bring to them if they are not asking for me to know about the value on their neighborhood or anything like that?
Well, first of all, they will bring it up. You don't have to. They know you're in real estate, right?
Yes, they know.
If they know you're in real estate and you just call them up just to shoot the breeze, just to bring them some value, tell them about a client event, whatever. Tell them about a community event that's coming up. Hey, did you know that there's this really cool carnival going down in Del Mar, or whatever, whatever it is. You're just calling them up to be nice and just to bring them some value. When you do that, a lot of times, people love talking about real estate, right? They love it. And so a lot of times they'll just bring it up. They'll ask you, hey, how's the market doing? And, is it going up? Is it going down? What's happening? You don't have to bring it up. But the problem is that when you do bring it up, that becomes self-serving. So you've got to be very careful. The only time that I would bring it up is if there was a massive market shift, right? The market just crashed. The market just exploding. And by the way, during those periods of time, it's probably on the news. And so they're going to ask you about it anyway. And so I would avoid bringing up the real estate conversation with them. Let them bring it up. And you'll be surprised. All of a sudden, you want to get them talking, by the way, so ask them lots of questions, and particularly open-ended questions to get them talking. As they start to open up and have that conversation with you, you'll find that your relationships will be a lot stronger. And over time, it's kind of like, well, in fact, I don't know if you guys have seen this. Y'all see Gary Vaynerchuk's latest book, Jab, Jab, Right Hook? So, he talks a lot about, bringing value, and then, eventually you can go for that right hook and you can actually ask for the sale, but you've got to bring lots of value first. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did.
Perfect. Okay, good. All right. Well, and by the way, I'm not sure. I mean, Brazil, man. I don't know. I'd have a hard time moving from Brazil to America, man. Brazil's a beautiful place. I'm not sure.
Well, I came here to learn English. I like other languages. I know Spanish. I know Hebrew, and then I came here to learn English, and then I fell in love. See how things are?
That's awesome. Good for you. What cracks me up, and I'm going to share this, and then I got to get to Wendy's got a question, so I'm going to get to Wendy's question. But what cracks me up about Americans? Everybody else everywhere in the country, they don't just speak their native tongue. They learn not one, but usually 2 or 3 other languages besides their native language. And here in America, we barely speak English properly. It cracks me up. It's good for you. Well, that's awesome. Rachel, I can't wait to get to know you better. And seriously, thank you for posting about the webinar on Facebook. That's really cool of you. Thank you for that.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you very much for your time.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and mute Rachel out, and I'm going to unmute Wendy Starling. Wendy, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Hey, tell everybody who you are and where you're from.
I'm Wendy Starling with Starling Real Estate, and I'm in the Salt Lake City, Utah area.
Right on. Salt Lake's awesome. I was just down there. I love Salt Lake. Don't you have to be Mormon to live there, though? Isn't there kind of don't they have like an entry requirement? You got to prove Mormon when you live there?
One would think, but no, you don't.
We have a bunch of family down there. I am Mormon, by the way, so it's I can tease Mormons because I'm one of them. But
right.
But I love that. Salt Lake's fantastic. So good for you. So tell us. Tell us what your question is.
I just wanted to find out, I had hopped over to leadslikecandy.com, and it had forwarded over to ZBuyer. And that was a source that I've been actually looking at for a little while and considering, but I wasn't quite sure because there's so many lead sources out there that you don't really know if they're truly legitimate leads that they provide. So I just want to know if that was the source that you were recommending.
Okay, so a couple of things. One, yes, that's that was correct that it took you there. And the reason it took you there is you're going through our affiliate link into them. And so what that affiliate link does is it gets you a discount on their service. And so
awesome.
Yes, I know. Seriously, it's too bad I don't see Blair Ballin on the call today. Normally Blair's on these, but Blair loves the discount codes. Blaze on, Blair. But anyway, long story short, yes, we get discounts with those guys. I used them for I'm trying to remember. It was since they opened. They used to be called Seller's Aid years ago. I want to say that was in 2003, and I started using them right when they came out, and I've used them ever since. And it's been I can't even begin to tell you how great that lead source is. The key, though, is how you follow up with their leads. So I just recorded a video this week that hopefully they're going to have on their website soon that teaches you how to convert their leads. But here's really what you need to understand. The people that are coming to their website, and they've got lots of different websites out there, but the people that are coming to their sites and opting into their service, are looking for an investor to make an offer on their home. So a guaranteed sale program works really well for these folks, but essentially the simplest, best approach for that lead source is to come in and just say, hey, look, you know what, I'm interested in buying your home, and if you're not interested or you're not willing to buy someone's home, then don't do that. You've got to be honest and act in integrity. That being said, I'm interested in buying every home. I mean, if somebody's got their house, they're willing to sell it to me for 65 cents on the dollar, and they're willing to carry a contract on it, sign me up. If you find one of those in Salt Lake and you find a deal at 65 cents on the dollar and they want to carry a contract, call me. I'll buy it. And I'm serious. I'm dead serious. So when you approach those people, you want to talk about either that you're interested in buying it or you may have an investor who's interested in buying it. And every single person on this call has an investor willing to buy every house they go look at the right price and under the right
the price is right.
That's right. And that's me. So, I'm serious about this. When you guys find those great deals out there, let me know. Happy to talk to you about it. And here's the thing. If I don't buy it, I've got boatloads of buddies that are huge in the real estate investing that would buy it. But anyway, great lead source, Wendy. I would highly recommend it. What you want to do is you want to talk to Eva down there. You want to be talking with Eva. She's fantastic. If you post about it in the Facebook group, on the Club Wealth Facebook group, or LCA, I'll respond there too. Post about it, tag me in it, and I'll actually tag her and get you connected directly with her. I've worked with her for most of that time. So I think she's been there since about 2003, 2005. And she takes care of all of our clients there. So
cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Awesome. Thanks for being on, by the way. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the great questions. So, all right. So I just went ahead and muted Wendy out. Anybody else? We got time for just one or two more questions here real quick. If anybody's got one, I'm surprised that all of you are still. I've got so many people still on. I'm like, wow, I'm honored. I'm absolutely crazy surprised at how many people are still on, which is great. I think that's awesome. So I'm not seeing any more questions. If you want to type a question into your box on the screen there, or if you want to raise your hand, I'd be happy to unmute your microphone. You can ask it voice to voice. But in the absence of any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. So please don't forget to jump on clubwealth.com/strategy session. I know a few of you have typed in, hey, look, I'm interested in coaching. I want to just coach with you. Well, that's awesome, and we'd be happy to talk with you about that. We don't take everybody into coaching, and that's not to say that we wouldn't love to, but the reality is it's got to be the right fit for you, and it's got to be the right fit for us. We work with nice people. If you're a jerk, we're not going to work with you. And I know you're probably whoever's on this webinar, that probably doesn't apply to you. But the reality is there's some not so nice people out there that we just won't work with them. We're not trying to be the biggest coaching company in the world. We just want to be the best, and we go deep with our clients, and we spend a lot of time with them. And we don't do, most coaching companies, they do a limited number of calls every month. We don't. When you're coaching with us, you have an unlimited number of calls with your coach. You have unprecedented access to every other coach on our team, and we've got just some of the most amazing coaches. In fact, regardless of what tier you're at, you're always being coached by someone who is actively selling real estate at a much higher level than you are. So you're never working with somebody who's not done more than you're trying to do in the real estate business. They're all big producers. They're all fantastic people. They're all living a good lifestyle. So you don't get to be a coach with Club Wealth if you're out there working 1 million hours a week and not taking any time with your family. In fact, I should have mentioned this on the webinar. If you would all do me a favor, there's a phrase I'd like you to write down. This is perhaps the most important thing I can possibly share with you. And I think it probably is the most important thing I can possibly share with you. So please grab a pen and write this down. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. I really hope you guys wrote that down. I hope you take it to heart. Listen, again, I wasn't joking before when I said this business will chew through families and relationships if you let it. Don't let it. I've seen it happen 1 million times. It almost happened to me and my wife. We went through some tough times when I was working crazy hours and it was all about the business and all about money. And man, I got to tell you, that was a scary time in my life. And we were about as close as you can get to getting a divorce. And it really took me getting essentially mentally hit upside the head to really realize that, hey, look, I've got the very best thing right here in front of me, and it doesn't matter how much money I make. What matters is I need to take care of my family. I need to love my wife. I need to love my kids. I need to spend time with them, and I need to be present for them. And so please, remember that. No success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. Now, don't get me wrong. You can make a ton of money, and we want you to make a ton of money. We just want you to do it without sacrificing your family in the process. So anyway, that being said, you guys, I really appreciate all the time you've taken to be here today. Please jump on there. I'd love to do a call with you. So go to clubwealth.com/strategy session, fill out the form, and we'll look forward to our time together on the phone. Have an awesome, awesome day. And I say this a lot. Every time I end a webinar or a video, a lot of times you'll hear me say that you're world class. Now, I just want to take a quick second and tell you, I really mean that. Anthony Robbins talks about awakening the giant within. Listen, whether you feel like you're world class right now or not, there is a world class person inside you just waiting to come out. There is this world class individual that just is dying to come out and be released into the world. Let that happen. You really are world class. I don't care what anybody else tells you. I don't care what you're telling yourself. You are world class. So go out and be world class. Have a great day, everybody.